The crowd. The crowd isn't always on your side. Have you ever wondered what it feels like to stand in the middle of a stadium of hundreds of millions of people watching your every move? Just a few weeks ago, almost a month or so ago, they played the biggest game that we celebrate here in the world. It was the Super Bowl. It was called Super Bowl Sunday, and right now the players were getting their minds right. They were getting their minds ready for the game, and each player may have a different ritual that they do, things that they do to prep for the game, whether it is or whatever they may do. Some may listen to certain music. Some may get on their knees and pray. Some may do this. There's different things that they do to prepare to get their mindset for a game that is about to be played. When they get there to the stadium and they go out here, and Sister Keith, they prepare to warm up. But once they get out there, from coming from back or from coming underneath the stadium to walk out, they walk out into a crowd of people, Brother Daniel, that are shouting, they are cheering, they are booing, they are doing all types of things. But the players have to keep their mind focused on the game. Here, when we see the fans, they want to cause what is known as a false start. They want the players to look at angry faces in the stands rather than focus on the goal line. You have some that even know the players by their names, and as they're walking through the tunnel, they calling their name. Some are for the good and some or for the bad. In those championship moments, a player has to make a choice, and if he listened to the boos as in the of the 12th man, he will jump offside, and if he focus on the hostile signs in the bleachers, he will miss the block. To win the ring, the player has to develop what is known, Sister Wesley, as a stadium silence. I guess you said, Pastor, how can they develop a stadium silence with all of these people hollering in the stadium? He has to hear the play called over the storm of the crowd, and if he can't hear the quarterback, he can't get his mind in the game. I need y'all to understand that we are playing in a Super Bowl sort of a story today. The world is the hostile stadium full of voices telling you that your season is over, that you made too many fumbles, and that you aren't worth the jersey that you're wearing. People will boo your progress and cheer when you get sacked by life, and we seek a sense of victory and clear directions, but the noise of the world makes it hard to find the end zone. When we listen to the world, it depends on your ability to ignore the noise in the crowd and hear the voice of God. I understand, I really do understand that it's hard with that orange man in the office. I understand sometimes it's hard to understand and really focus on the things that are going on in the world today. But I need you to understand this morning, he doesn't have the power to do anything that God won't allow him to do. Let me say that again, because some of y'all in the back, you maybe you didn't understand what I was saying. He may be the president of these United States, but I'm talking about God, the one who reigns over all, the one who puts the light in the stars, the one who puts the hot in the sun. I'm talking about God, the one who has all power. The text focuses on the specialized connection between a leader and those who trust him to call the right play. To understand why Jesus talks about sheep and voices, we have to look at how the shepherd worked back then, which is a lot how a quarterback worked within his huddle. In those days, many shepherds would put all of their sheep into a big pen at night, and there might be hundreds of sheep from different flocks mixed together, looking like a chaotic locker room. And when morning came, the shepherd didn't use a whistle or he didn't use a whip. The shepherd stood at the gate and he used his voice. Shepherd and sheep. The sheep should know the voice of the shepherd. I've used many times before, Brother Tony, I can put Zai in a crowd. And he can be in a crowd and it can be noisy. But when I whistle, he will hear that whistle and turn his head and know he may not see me then, but he'll know sooner or later Daddy is in the crowd. Why? Because I taught him at a younger age when he was playing sports. When I wanted to get his attention, I said, listen for the whistle. There was a time that when he was playing ball, and here, Deacon Frank, I taught him how to hit on his left and his right, and he was having a bad day on his right, and he was trying to get a hit, and I just whistled and told him to switch over on his left, and his coach was here, and I don't like to go against the coach, but he was having a hard day, but I whistled and told him to switch over, and the coach was fussing, and he was arguing, and he was looking at me and looking at the coach trying to understand who do I listen to, and I said, boy, get on your left and hit the ball. And when he got on his left and he's hit, then the coach said, why didn't you tell me that you can hit on the other side? But he listened to the whistle. Even though the air was filled with the sounds of other shepherds calling other sheep, bleating, his sheep knew his specific frequency. They had spent much time with him in quiet pastures that they could pick up his voice out of the thousands of others. They didn't follow strangers because a stranger voice sounded like noise in the stadium. This changes the sheep from being lost in a crowd to being focused on one man, shows us that the safety isn't found in a quiet stadium, but in a familiar voice. When the crowd is not on your side, you don't need the crowd to be quiet. You just need to know the shepherd's sign. Well, let's talk about hearing God.